So today I'd like to try and talk about something quite sensitive. It's a subject that's personal to me and to hundreds and thousands of other women, and that is something called bias. Me particularly, I'm going to be talking about racial bias, unconscious racial bias in BDSM and in fetish. Now, you can apply this if you are perhaps BBW or disabled or any sort of background that makes you feel like you're a minority. So what I've experienced is that I know that what I do makes me stand out. I am English, I'm black, and I do FemDomme and FemDomme globally. I'm one of the few who has managed to break out and make my voice heard over a number of things. What I've always tried to be is positive in terms of how little women like me are seen in the scene. I've always tried to encourage others to be positive about it. Maybe it's come across as denial, that's not my intention, but I'd always be encouraging people to work hard, to put themselves in places which made them be seen. And that's exactly what I've done. I've written to websites asking to be advertised. I have, submit articles in different places. I've been very vocal on my social media. And all of these things that I do enable me to be seen. So I don't expect any website to just automatically promote me. I don't expect that. What I do expect, though, from the scene is to not make it so hard for women of colour to be seen, or any minority to be seen. People have said, black people are treated differently. I've always just tried to be the person that says, if we work hard or if we do things differently, then it won't be a negative, it will be more of a positive. So instead of trying to feed that feeling of being put down all the time, because if you feel that way, it becomes a reality. So this isn't being in denial, this is just trying to choose your focus in other ways. If, for example, you say you're poor all the time, you're going to stay poor. If you say that you're rich, you work towards a goal of being rich. I'd always encourage black women, or any minority for that matter now, to make sure that what you're doing makes people see you and pay attention. That's always going to be hard when there are websites that don't push us forward as much as we should be. So what I mean by that is, if you go to any fetish website and you go to the homepage, just simply count how many women of colour. So that could be anybody. Generally in the UK here is that women of colour are anybody with, a darker skin tone, like anyone with maybe an African heritage. Obviously in America, women of colour classed as Asian, Latin, etc. So for me, all I need to do, and all you should do as well, is go to a homepage of any fetish website and just count how many, minority people you can see, how many black, Asian. That is a classic example of unconscious racial bias. I need to explain the difference between unconscious racial bias and racism. They're very different things. Racism is an out-and-out hatred towards a particular race of people. Now, these websites obviously don't have racial, they don't show racism, no. But what they do show is this unconscious racial bias where we're seen as the minority when actually people like me should just be part of the mix. We should just be part of everything. You'll say now, but what about ebony category? What about Asian category? Those are fine. We know that we're also fetishized in this, but also what we'd like to see is that women like me don't have to be filtered down to be found. I want there to be a more mix of different faces and different people when I visit the homepage of a website, or just generally see that black women or Asian women, Latino women are all more easily found, and promoted than having to search down another layer to be found. And you might think that there are lots of black FemDoms or FinDoms. That's good that you see them and you follow them. You've made it a conscious effort to actually be surrounded by, my type of people, which is great. We appreciate that and we like that. But what I'm coming from is at a high level of business. So as I say, mainly online, in the online business. That's where the problem lies, when companies are pushing more forward the stereotypical ideal of FemDom, FinDom, any other fetish that falls below that. I refer to FemDom and FinDom because that's what I mainly do and it's what I'm known for. But any sort of fetish that you can think of, really, it's you're always filtered down. I'd love to be able to go to a website and just be able to see a range of faces, a range of, just lots of different people, different skin colours, skin tones. And then that's what makes women like me feel more included and makes fetish more inclusive, because that's what we're supposed to be, inclusive. We're supposed to be a community of people who society doesn't understand. So it's up to us as a community to understand people's differences, understand people's struggles. I've struggled a hell of a lot in FemDom. I've struggled being black. I've struggled being British. I've always just tried to remain positive about being a minority. I've been very lucky and very fortunate, and also I do work hard for this too, to be seen. There was a website back when I first started that actually did push me forward and did promote me a lot, which I was really grateful for, and I feel like that's been a real help to me. But it was just me, I just would have liked to have seen more women of colour pushed as much more forward as I was, and that's what's lacking. It's lacking the women being pushed forward, being promoted, of all different kinds of skin colour. I mean, for me, being dark-skinned is even a thing. So even in the spectrum of being black, there's even more of a filter down where the tone of your skin is even filtered. So if you're more lighter, a lighter skinned black person, you even are more seen than somebody like me. Just going under a tunnel. Can you still see me? But it's when you see women of colour, black women of colour I'll refer to mainly, because that's something that I can speak on, being a black woman of colour. I know what I see, I know what I experience, and I'd like more people to understand it when I talk about it. And I don't want people to feel sensitive about me talking about how I live in my skin every day of my life. People, as soon as you say something about being black and not being represented, you'll have people say, oh, what about this? But what about this? What about this? It's like, but even if we're promoted in a certain way, there's one website that does Women of Colour Wednesday. Why are we just boxed into Wednesday? There's 6 other days of the week. That's my point when I say these things. You shouldn't have to look hard to find other people who aren't your stereotypical FemDom and FinDom. And that is unconscious racial bias. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that you really try to reach out to more people of colour, reach out to more people of disability, of different genders, gender identification, sexuality. I hope that we can really move forward, because we've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting to be seen, waiting to be heard. There's no more waiting. That time is now. That time needs to be now. It needs to be now. I've been in the scene for 6 years, and I've seen a hell of a lot. I've seen black women have to separate themselves completely and just focus on black promotion, which isn't fair. It isn't fair. The websites that are in charge of putting us out there should be promoting us equally. That's all we ever ask for, equal promotion. So as I said, if you don't believe what I'm saying, just go to a homepage of any one of your fetish websites that you like and see if you can count how many women of colour are on the homepage. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So I hope that was insightful to you, and yeah, until next time.